Time to go back here. No, Lamed Aleph. Lamed Aleph. I think. Yeah. We're out above. Posting Yom Mitzvah and Shabbosos. A Pesach is one of the examples of Pesach is Shabbos and Yom Tov. For example, a person had a mind to take a neder till Shabbos or Yom Tov, and it comes out that that if he were you to have known that it's going to stare your Shabbos or Yom Tov, it's going to disrupt them to your fasting on Erev Shabbos or on Erev Yom Tov, maybe Shabbos Yom Tov himself included in his neder, so then that's a valid Pesach. Okay, so only they say they used to say also Yom Mutarim v'shar kolim maturim. However, they used to say originally that it's only for those days of Shabbos and Yom Tov come out in your neder. You know what? I made a mistake. I just translated. It's about a guy who made a neder to fast for, let's say, 40 days straight, which includes the Shabbos and the Yom Tov. So they tell him, listen, you didn't have my Shabbos and Yom Tov, surely. So that's a Pesach, but initially they only learned to Pesach for Shabbos or Yom Tov themselves. For the Shabbos and Yom Tov. Achabar Rabbi Akiva came and said a tremendous chiddush. And the Limit, he taught, Shaneder Shutar Miklolo Hutar Kulo. A neder which is partially undermined is completely undermined. Whereas if you made a neder and I am able, we're on Lamed Aleph now 61. Okay? If you made a neder and I can undermine it partially, then it's as if the entire neder is undermined. Okay? So that's what it's not as if. Then it undermines the entire neder. Ketzad. How so? He says, I don't want to derive benefit from all 7 of you. If one of them becomes mutter, in other words, one of the 7 now has about him there's a Pesach. So then, hutu kula. Yeah, all of them become mutter. Because one falls, they all fall. She'eni nene, lezeh. Now what if he said them, however, sequentially? Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and so on and so forth. So Hutar Rishon, if the first one falls, then Hutar Kulam, all of them are permitted. Hutar Achon, if the last one in the sequence falls, then only Achon Mutar, only the last is permitted. Kulam Asurim, all the rest are forbidden. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we've had it before. Besides in the Nedarim, I don't remember where else it appears, though. I'm sure we've had it. What? Maybe Obama's had something like that. Yeah, I remember what context. Where we had such thing, I don't remember. But you're right. It sounds like something which we had in the Obama's. Okay. In any event, we're Mr. Zuger. We're once in Halacha Vav in the Mishnah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines down. First word in the line is she'eni nen. She'eni. She'eni nen uzeh korban. However, if he punctuated his statement, then he said, I'm not going to have anoah for this one as a korban, as if it's a korban. And for this one as if it's a korban. That's throwing in the word korban, which you usually don't use in making a neder, because that really is the full formal language. It's really not necessary. You just say, we said at the beginning of Masechta, we usually use the Yodos Nedarim. We use as if, it says, Hanos Adam Ze'alai, I know this person is upon me, so then that's sufficient. You don't have to say, oh, like your korban, right? But even though that's the full formal language, that his benefit should be upon me like as if it's a korban, which means it's forbidden to me. But in this context, if you separate each individual in the chain by saying korban, right? So then each one is independent. So you can pass the kol echad echad. It's not a chain anymore. You've separated them. Each one requires its own pesach, right? Konam yain cheni toin. If a person says, I'm not going to drink wine, shayayin because wine is bad for the digestion. Then they said to him, old wine is good for the digestion. He's permitted for the old wine. Not just the old wine. He's permitted for all wine. All wine becomes permissible to him. Why? Because again, if you can undermine the nether partially, the nether is completely undermined. Similarly, he says, I'm not going to taste onions, because onions are bad for the heart. They say then, there's an onion called the kufri onion, which is good for the heart. He's permitted to eat kufri onions. Not just kufri onions, but all onions as well. Mice happen like this. Remer permitted for all onions, like Rabbi Akiva's law. Tani, we learned hutar. Now there's a word missing here, according to the Korbaneda, based on the Bavli. Hutar mimenu, hutar emtsai it should be. If the one of you have a link goes to the chain of 7, the one in the middle ones became mutter, right? So then mimenu lamata mutter, all the rest in the chain are permitted. Mimenu lamata, the ones which preceded that individual in the chain, are also, or the substances, whatever your neder consisted of. So the domino effect begins wherever you begin. It's not all when it's in sequence. Not all doesn't affect the ones prior to that one where you began. In the Pesach, in finding an opening with which to permit your neder. They don't go backwards. That's right. Tiny b'shem Rabbi Nosson. Now the rest of this Mishnah, the rest of this Gemara is not in the Bavli. Tiny b'shem Nosson. Learn the name Rabbi Nosson. Yesh neder shemitzasa bata mitzasa kain. Sometimes neder which is partially cancelled and partially sustained. Ketza. How so? Nodam in a kalkola. If you took a neder from a basket. There were certain types of dates in the basket called B'no Sheva. Amar, and he said, he says, right, to know that there were these types of dates in the basket, I wouldn't have taken a neder. So that's a Pesach, that's an opening. Hutam no Sheva, you can now do Matas neder on the B'no Sheva. And since neder shuta mitzvah huta kulo, since when you do partially on the mind, completely on the mind, lo b'no sheva bilvad utar. It doesn't just work for the b'no sheva. El b'chol kakol, it works for the entire basket. Avo ima mar, but if he said ilo yisya der sheisham no sheva, if he said were I to have known that there was no sheva, lo yisya no there be no sheva, and I wouldn't have taken neder from the b'no sheva. Lo utar el b'no sheva bilvad. He only becomes mutter in the Bnos Sheva. Now, this is an interesting dichotomy. Again, as I said, it's not in the Bavli. But here it says, were I to know, he said when he made the Pesach, he didn't just say, were I to know that there was a Bnos Sheva, I wouldn't have made the neder at all. He says, were I to have known that there were Bnos Sheva, I wouldn't have made the neder from the Bnos Sheva. So on that, Rabbi Nosson, I don't know if he's arguing Rabbi Akiva or explaining Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva Rabbi Nosson says that's only true if he says, it just says generically, were I to have known about that substance, I wouldn't have made the neder. He says, were I have known about the substance, I wouldn't have made the neder about that substance, but only for that part of the neder is to come mutter, not for the rest of the neder.
Except you didn't make the neder for that substance.
What? Right, but nevertheless, right, but that these holds, Rabbi Nosson holds the difference between qualifying the neder and reneging on the neder, and it depends how he phrases the statement right now. Yeah, I don't know if Rabbi Akiva agrees with that. Could be Rabbi Akiva holds, like it says in our Mishnah, neder shutam mitzvah nehuta kulo, regardless of what statement he makes now. Whereas it never says, so it depends on what he qualifies now. Okay. Posting laws and b'chavod bara b'ubnoisa. One can open b'chavod atzma. Posting laws and b'chavod atzma b'chavod bara. One gives a pesach to an individual that says, well, you didn't take your own honor or your kid's honor into account when you took your neder, obviously. Well, we say to him, for example, let's say he took a neder to divorce his wife, or shvur divorce his wife, or neder which requires him to divorce his wife. And so we say to him, you said they're ready to know. That tomorrow they're going to say about who, they'll say about you, Kachu Vesto Ploni. This is so-and-so's won't. Megarish Nashav, he divorces his wives. Concerning your daughters, they're going to say, but notice Grushain, they're the daughters of a divorcee, and they won't be able to get a shidduch, right? Hey, and people are going to start saying, hey, my boss, Iman Shalelu is Garish. What happened with this mother that she got divorced? You saw the Bible is here, so it's Ross instead of Ross. What did she see? It's not clear if there's any difference. Or Yosher, when the Achoyim wants to say there is a difference between the Girsos. I don't know exactly if there is or isn't. But in any event, here it says, hey, my boss, Iman, what did she come? In the Bible it says, hey, my Ross, Iman, what did she see? Yes, it mainly discouraged. They'll start saying rumors about the mother. So bottom line is, your kids are going to have problems, you're going to have a bad reputation. V'amar, he said, if he says at that point, Ilu, Vayisi Yoder Shukei, right to have known that's the case, Vayisi Noida would not take another, I raise the mutter, that's a Pesach. Okay? Now, let's skip down here. The first line, really, the Mashbiach puts at the end of the Gemara. It makes sense that way, more sense than the way it's written here. So let's skip down one line, Ki'adah. See that, or actually two lines. The second line after the Mishnah says Ki'adah, like this. Chada Itasa, Nadras min Barta. So it was a certain woman who took a neder from her daughter, right? In other words, refrained from begging for her daughter. Asked the guy Rabbi Yochanan, so a woman came for Rabbi Yochanan. Armani said to her, Ilu avas yadas, the bartich nasfa shum bish. We're to have known that your daughter got a bad name because of your neder. So, nadras savis, would you have taken such a neder? Amar lo, Amar, she said, lo, I would not have. The shor lo, and he was matir neder for her. V'lomasti, so isn't it our Mishnah that says this? We make it, we open for an individual for the honor of Chavad Atzma of Chavad Banav. So it says, what's the Chiddush? Why bring us story to Rabbi Yochanan? The Chor, it's an open in Shav case of Mishnah. So it says, Gemara, the low Titzburg, you never say, yes, that's true. Well, there is a Tana who argues on our Mishnah, that's Rabbi Yochanan, so we want to tell you not to pass like him. What's Rabbi Yochanan? Now go back to the beginning of the Gemara. Tana, Rabbi Yochanan, ain't place to learn el b'chavad atzim bilvad. The Yochanan said we only go by an individual's own honor and respect, not by his kids' honor and respect. So Rabbi Yochanan was trying to say we take into account the kids' honor and respect as well. Okay? Says more further. Allah ches. Next page. Koinem sheini no says plonis. Sheini no says plonis. Same idea. I'm not going to marry so and so, and he takes a neder or a shvua on that because ku'urahi. Because she's ugly. Bahreina, turns out she's beautiful. Shchayra says she's dark complexion. Levana, she turns out to be light complexion. Ketzara, she's short. Bahreina, she turns out to be tall. See the standards of beauty were, I guess, kind of Caucasian. Well, yeah, I don't know. No, we didn't even see her, obviously. Yeah, blind date, yeah. He just got the shops and described it, right? Vanasa or mutarba, and he's permitted in her. Lo mipnei shasha shikura v'nasis. It's not because of a noila, not because of a new thing, because we had all the issue early in the parak whether you can posech b'noila, where something occurs later on, whether that's considered to be a valid pesach or not. So we say it's not because she was fat and she went to a diet and she became slim. No, that's not what it is. Or Shchayra, she was dark, and she had some skin application, became white. Kitzara Aruka, or they stretched her. When she was short and she became tall. Ella Shanetos, was because of a mistaken impression. Because she really was beautiful, or whatever, and he didn't know. Maisa like this, a certain individual who took an oath not derive any benefit from his niece. They're bugging to marry this niece, and she thought she was terribly ugly, and he refused to marry her. He took a neder against her. And here he saw her. It seems that he actually saw her. So they brought this niece to the house of Rabbi Shmuel, and Rabbi Shmuel made her beautiful. Amar Rabbi Shmuel, so it was a cow, the Gemara is going to discuss how. Amar Rabbi Shmuel, so Rabbi Shmuel said, he showed her this girl, he said, B'ni, Vizuna Ta'arta, did you take a netter against this woman? Amar Olav, he said, no, because this is a beautiful girl. Now, by our standards, this girl will not prove to be so beautiful, but you'll see what the Gemara says. V'tir Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel permitted him at that point, was Mater's netter. Bozo Shah Bachar Rabbi Shmuel. That time Rabbi Shmuel cried, and he said, Benos Yisrael knows, say, the daughters of Israel are beautiful. All of them are. And with Shanius Min Abalton, they're poor, and that's what makes them not look good. But if you apply the right treatments for the right money, they're all beautiful. Okay. Now, what do you do for her? Asula. Now here it says ayin shows up, but the Bible doesn't have the eye. It only has the shane shows off. The next line, the tooth. She either had an eye missing, or an eye or a tooth missing. Seems like from the Bible only a tooth, not an eye. But in any event, in order to replace the tooth, she had a false tooth, looked disgusting. So Rabbi Shmuel made her a tooth, or according to Yerushalmi, via Goris Ayin, he made her also an eye of gold, and that changed everything. So the false tooth, which was made out of gold, made her look beautiful. The Lashon Hazel Amar Lo, and this is also not in Bavli, he said to her, Zakeh b'masholeh, you get her with the gold tooth tossed in. That's for free. Okay? So in any event, I don't know exactly nowadays, I don't think gold teeth would really make her look more beautiful, but in our eyes, but that's what worked back then. Yeah, the Russians still are very much into that, right? Okay. Shemeitz Rabbi Shmuel. When Rabbi Shmuel died, Nosos Kino, the women cried bitterly. Vomros, and they said, Benos Yisrael, the daughters of Israel are Rabbi Shmuel b'chena, and Rabbi Shmuel cried. V'chein Omer b'shol, so it said by Shol HaMelech, Benos Yisrael, daughters of Israel, El Shol b'chena, cry upon the death of Shol. Now here we have again another Gemara which is not in the Bavli. See if it says Benos Yisrael Shol b'chena, the daughters of Israel, Shol, you should cry. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yechem, Echad about Benos Yisrael Ma'am. It's really talking about the daughters of Israel, the girls. So Balein Hochos and Melchama, their husbands used to go to war. And Shol used to supply the women, the wives left behind, with the wives and daughters, I guess, also with food. Mata Muloma, where the pasuk says, say this. The pasuk says it. This is in David's eulogy for Shol. Hamale Edi Zav al Rushchem, he who puts upon your dress a golden ornament. Shein Tachshid Noah. So it says the Yerushalmi, very interesting logic. So it doesn't say he fed them, it says he gave them jewelry, right? No, it says Yerushalmi, Shein Tachshid Noah, Guf Uda. Jewelry doesn't look good if the body's emaciated. So obviously, in order to give them jewelry, you have to feed them ahead of as well. Okay, so that's the Yerushalmi knows he must have fed them, because otherwise there's no point in giving them jewelry, right? The Chorana Maria said, Benos Yisrael is not the daughters of Israel, but Benoyos Shem Yisrael, the builders in Israel. Like we say, how to creep Banayich Ela Bonoich. The builders of Israel are the Chachamim. Benoyos Shem Yisrael. Sanhedroyos Shel Yisrael, the Sanhedrin of Am Yisrael. How so? Roya Kas Chaverim used to see groups of Talmidei Chachamim, Uma'achil Uma'ashkon, used to give them to eat and to drink. So he used to support the koilel mix. Umata Mulom Ramala Edi Zav Al Vushchem. What is it? So what does it mean in this context? He didn't give Talmidei Chachamim gold jewelry, then it wasn't what Talmidei Chachamim were interested in. We're interested in Hamburgs and frocks. So it doesn't help us to get gold jewelry, right? So what does it mean? Amala Edi Zav Al Vushchem. Shayashomea Tam Alochem Pichochem. He would listen to what other Chachamim had to say, umakauso, and praise them as a result. So that's like a golden ornament, the fact that he would listen to somebody and give him a grace yashakoyach and praise him for what he had to say. Okay? Nara Murasa. Next paragraph. Nara Murasa aviu ba'al mefir nidareh. Now, the halacha is a husband can annul his wife's vows. Within how long of time frame does he have? Till Shkia, actually. Till the next year. no matter when it starts. A father also can annul vows of his daughter. I don't remember if there's any time frame for him. I think he gets more than 1 day. I don't recall. I think he gets more than 1 day. Now, a father knows his daughter's vows till she's how old? Take a guess. 12 and a half. 12 and a half. So the same age you can marry her off, which is 12 and a half. A husband can annul her vows whenever she gets married, which is, could be earlier, could be later. If she's a murasa, she's a nara murasa, she's the girl's betrothed, not fully married yet, so then both the father and husband do it together. They do it as partners. Okay? So that's what we're about to discuss. Nara murasa, a girl who's betrothed, avia ubala mafir nedarim. Her father and her husband annul their vows together. Hey for Abulay fair bow, what if the father does it and not the husband? Or hey for Abulay fair off, or the husband does it and not the father? Ain't no move for it, doesn't work. You need both. Now it goes to say one of them was Mekayim the Neder. Mekayim Neder, one of them says explicitly, I like this Neder, it's fine, I sanction it. So that's much worse, obviously, because there he cut off any possibility of ever being matir made for the neder. Okay, usually the word used, even though there's somewhat interchangeable, when a chacham does it, it's called being matir neder. When a husband does it, it's called, or the father does, it's called made for neder. Okay, says the Gemara, it says v'mayosi eliish. If she's going out, this halacha is it's very different than the Bab Yerushalmi. The big machlokes here in the Bab Yerushalmi. They're the psukim are not the same Bab Yerushalmi. They're just so different. See if it says says if she goes to her husband. Manakemi, what are you talking about? Even Nisua, if we're talking about where she's Nisua, I mean not just betrothed but fully married. See, the Ray says in Beis Yishonador, the Ray says if she makes a neder in the house of her husband, then her husband undermines her neder. He's made for it. Being b'pnuya, but it's talking about a girl who's not yet married at all. So, Kvarksiv, v'shaki sidor neder Hashem. Then we know that that's what it says. She takes a neder, so then her father annuls it. So what's this puzzle say about? If she goes to her husband and she has Nedarim upon her, who's this story about? Nara Murasa. This story about a girl who's betrothed. That her husband and her father do it in partnership. At Kedum says more, okay, that's true. V'ndarim shenodra mishen isarso. Understand that's true about the Nedarim she took after she got betrothed. Nedarim shenodra shalom isarso. What about Nedarim she took before she got betrothed? So how do we know that even though the husband participates in annulling? But it says undarel aleh and her Nedarim which are upon her. In other words, it sounds like the Nedarim are already upon her when she got married. The Rabbah says Nedarim should babi adami beisavia. Okay, so far Tanakama here says that the husband's hafara is essential in partnership, even not just in Nedarim which occurred after she got betrothed, but even in Nedarim which she came into the betrothal with them already upon her. Okay? Now, Tanya Shem Eliezer, like
father didn't make it.
Yeah, well, he still has to do his part.
Right.
Again, that's the same. I seem to recall father doesn't have a 24 hour limitation. Only the husband does.
So the husband has to look for the father to agree with him.
Right. Right. They both have to agree. Well, so we're assuming that, right? So we need the husband at this point as well. Tashem Lezer, we learned that Rebbe Lezer. Imayos Yelish. He learns Imayos Yelish. It's not talking about a Nara Murosa. Not talking about a girl under 12 and a half. It's talking about a girl who's over 12 and a half. And she's betrothed. And there, the Pasuk is telling us that her husband, solo, is made for an Nedarim. Not, he doesn't, the father's out of the picture already. The father went out of the picture when she hit 12 and a half. Here's the husband solo who does it. The Chabur of the Beis Meir said, Yosam Rabbi Lezer. We like what Rabbi Lezer said, that this passage is saying about a girl who's over 12 and a half. Now, in the next few lines, Wherever it says Rabbi Eliezer, it should say, I'm going to learn Korban Eidah, even though it's very confusing. Everywhere it says Rabbi Eliezer, say Rabbanan, everywhere it should say Rabbanan, it should say Rabbi Eliezer, which is standard for the Yerushalmi. The Kasha al Rabbanan. It's difficult on the Rabbanan. So why is it different on the Rabbanan? Mikhem of Shebagra, lo yotza kvar mi Rishus Aviyah. Once she's a Bogeres, is not. Now, I'm not sure exactly what they were learning in Rabbanan, because Rabbanan seemed to say Nara HaMurasa. They were talking about Nara HaMurasa. But I guess they were assuming that this pasuk with which the Gemara opened, V'mayosi el ishun darel leh, doesn't inherently discuss Nara or Bogeres. Could be either one. So therefore, Rabbi Eliezer makes sense, because he says it's about a Bogeres, a woman who already has left her father's domain, and therefore she's on her own. When she gets married, her husband is made for the Nedarim by himself. But now the Gemara's difficulty therefore on the Rabbanan. Once she's a Bogeres, so her father is gone. In other words, Rabbanan don't have a pasuk which tells us anything about Bogeres. The husband does it by himself, right? They have a pasuk which covers Penuya, a girl who's not yet betrothed, that her father does it. They have a pasuk which covers Nesua, a girl who's fully married, that the husband does it. But they have no pasuk to cover an Arusa Bogeres, a girl who's only betrothed, not married, but is over 12 and a half. So Rabbi says this pasuk in Yosef that covers it, and we see only the husband by herself does it. But according to Rabbanan, there's no pasuk which deals with that. So we're left assuming, probably incorrectly, which is Gemara's point, that a girl over 12 and a half who's only betrothed, you still need both the partnership of the father and the husband. So that's what's difficult.
Who's the Bogeres is still living in her father's house?
It's not material though.
She's still living there.
Because how logically speaking, her father has no rights. The moment her father has no rights to marry her, just like a father has no rights to be made for his sons in the Nedarim. Right? Father can be made for sons, right? Even if the kids living in his house, even for the youngest age. It's contingent on this relationship of being able to marry her off. So therefore at 12 and a half it terminates. Okay? So that's to say, the Kasha Rabbanan became a Shabbat, look for Yatim Savia, isn't she already out of her father's house? Her father's domain, rather. Yisraima Shemei Savin, she should be like a Yisraima, an orphan whose father died. Me made for law, who was made for Abba made for. The husband is made for. So where do we ever see that according to Rabbanan? The Kasha and the other one, it's difficult, Ad Rabbi Eliezer. It's difficult on Rabbi Eliezer the other direction. Imat Shelo Nichnasa L'Shusa, who made for law. If a case, now according to Rabbi Eliezer Beramar, we have 3 psukim, right? A pasuk by Penuya, a girl who's not married, that her Nedarim are her father's made for. We have a pasuk by a Nesua, which teaches us that when she's fully married, the husband's made for. And now we have a pasuk by a Bogeres Arusa, a girl who's betrothed, who's already over 12 and a half, that the husband is made for. Well, doesn't that not render the pasuk about Nesua, a fully married girl, superfluous? If you know that a Bogeres Arusa, a betrothed girl who's over 12 and a half, the husband is made for. So Kavachomer goes fully Nesua, the husband is made for. Right? You don't need a pasuk for that. So that's when it says, the Kasha of Rabbi Eliezer, if before she enters his domain, he's made for her Nedarim. Certainly if he's already in her domain, what do I need a pasuk for that? So Ma'amekayim Rabbi Eliezer, what does Rabbi Eliezer do with the pasuk? Also, there's an additional question. Ma'amekayim Rabbi Eliezer, what does Rabbi Eliezer do with the pasuk? It says her Nedarim are upon her. Now Rabbanan said that means when she gets betrothed, if she comes in with the Nedarim for previously, so those Nedarim, you need the husband's participation now in order to be made for her. Right? She came in to the betrothal with the Nedarim she took earlier. right? So now, once she's betrothed, he also needs the husband's participation in that. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. So Mamakaim, Rabbi Lezer and Dorel, what are we talking about? Manakaim, what are we talking about? Imbin Dorim, Shenodrach, Sarsa. We're talking about the Dorim, which she took before she got betrothed. Sarsa, and she already became, and then she became betrothed. Kvarnire La'av, now the word Labal take out, because it's before she got betrothed. Kvarnire La'av, La'affair. The husband could do it, the father could do it on his own. Ella, so what must he talk about? Kiana Kayamin, what are you talking about? Beneder Shenodra, in the nether which she took. Now instead of the next 5 words, the Shai Teretz just puts in the word Mishemes Avia V'Hibogeres. Once her father dies, when she's a Bogeres. Now, I can't exactly follow the sequence here, but Rabbi Lezer obviously speaks about this pasuk. I guess I can't follow the sequence. I take that back. Let me make it clear. The pasuk which says Undarel Leo. Let's look. That's the same pasuk which we started the Gemara with. If you take a look back at the Gemara, the right beginning of the Gemara, it says B'Yimayos and that pasuk continues, it says Undarel Leo. Okay. Now, according to Rabbanon, that pasuk is talking about a Nara who got betrothed. Okay. So it means it's coming to tell us that she took the daughter before she got betrothed. She got betrothed. Now her father and her husband have to be made for annulled in the daughter in partnership. But according to Rabbi Lezer, that same pasuk is talking about a Bogeres. He says that's talking about a Bogeres Arusa, and it's telling us that the Bogeres Arusa, the girl is over 12 and a half and betrothed, that she has her Nedarim annulled by her husband only. So what's the Undarel there referring to? Nedarel there from when? When were these Nedarim taken? If they were taken while the father was still alive, this is a very critical point. Taken while the father was still alive. If the father dies, then those Nedarim are stuck. I mean, you can always go to a Chacham, a sage, to be mad to know them. But there was no transfer then from the father to the husband. So that can't work. If the father was alive when the Nedarim were taken and then died. So and even if the father it's more than that. Because there's a gap. Even if the father's still alive. She's a Bogeres. So therefore the gap between 12 and a half, when the father lost his authority, and now is an unbridgeable one. He can't annul those Nedarim which took place before 12 and a half. Because those are father's Nedarim. He wasn't in the picture, and it's too late for him to jump on that bandwagon and for those Nedarim to transfer to him. So therefore, Rabbi Lezer must say, that's what the Gemara says here, we're talking about a nether which she took when she became a Bogeres already. So those Nedarim were never under the father's auspices. So that's why when he marries her, he takes over those Nedarim, and for 24 hours after he hears about them, he has the right to nullify them, to annul them. Okay? So that's what it says here. Minon Rabbi Lez, again, according to Shai Teretz Yisrael's Girsa, it says, Mishemes Avia, the Nedarim she took with Shemes Avia, Via Bogeres, and she's Bogeres. Now we're about, in case you lost the place, and while we were going through that whole explanation, we are in the middle of the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines down. Last word in the line. Minon Rabbi Lezer, having no according to Rabbi Lezer, Namurasa, that a girl who's betrothed, and is still a Nara, still under 12 and a half, Abiyu Baal Mifrin Dorel. That he learns the possible Yosi Elishim Dorel Leh, that's like about a Bogeres. The girl's already over 12 and a half. So that's certainly not talking about what is a partnership. So how do you know the concept of partnership by a girl's betrothed when she's under 12 and a half? So it says Mara, because the ben ish lishto. Says the Gemara said the pasuk says this is the halacha of Nedarim ben ish lishto, and the pasuk goes on. It's not clear, it's choppy here the Gemara, but it says ben ish lishto ben avlu bno. Ben avlu bito. Binurea beisavia. There's a linkage there. Ish lishto avlu bito. They're in the sandwich together. So and that's as it says the Gemara ad kedun. Until now, I know it should be. It seems to me it should be ha'av b'ba. The father is shaykh to the husband, right? Because the father, it says benish to ishto and b'av lebito. We see that the father is riding on the husband. How do we know about b'av? How do we know it works the other way as well? That the husband is riding on the father, because it says ben avlu bito. So it's a little bit choppy, but the idea is that it says ben avlu bito ben ish lishto in the same person. Right. Right. And they're sandwiched together. That when she's an amoroso, then both of them have authority. Yes. But it's not just analogy, but they're linked. There's a linkage, okay? Ma Mekai Rabbanim B'Ish Lishto. What do Rabbanim do with this pasuk? Because they already know that Nar Marasa, both the father and husband, maybe they're from Yossi El Ish, right? So what do they do with this pasuk? It says the Gemara, if they know from Yossi El Ish and Darel Leh, that in the those in the Dorim, the husband participates together with the father. So that means below Shabbein al Be'achim. The halacha is, we're going to have it later, that a husband can't be made for all his wife's Nedarim. He's only made for Nedarim which have to do with their relationship. If she took a neder, I don't know exactly which don't apply to their relationship, but if there's a neder which doesn't apply to their relationship, but only to her, so then let's say she took a neder, she's not going to eat by one of her friends, and her husband has no intention of ever eating at that friend's house. So then that would be Beinula Beinu, that's not Beinula Beinu, and then her husband can't be made for. Beinula Beinishu below Beinu Be'achem, not between her and anybody else. Beinav Lebito also, between father and daughter, below Beinu Be'achem, and not between her and anybody again, as he said, which is relevant to the father, not so which is irrelevant to him. Says Rabbi Lezer, okay, that's nice drasha. Rabbi Lezer doesn't hold that drasha. So it's more Israel, of course he holds that drasha. Kulam ikam on Israel. He learns them all out from that pasuk. Ben Ishli Shto, Ben Ish Shto, Lo B'Masha Beino Ben Acherim, Ben Av Lebito, Lo Ben Shebeino Ben Acherim, and also between the two are sandwiched together in the same pasuk that juxtaposed. So that teaches us that they're both together as partners when being made for the neder of a girl who's between 12 and 12 and a half. Okay, period. New issue, getting back to the mission. If one of them sustained the neder, then of course the other one cannot be made for on his own. Come and see the following case. If the father did afara, ain't mufar, it's not valid. Vatamar, okay, and you're going to say like this. I forgot what that means. 1 second.
When the father did they make the neder?
He wasn't. One second. Yeah, it seems that there's a couple of words missing. Should be if the father did that for and not the son, a mufa doesn't work. So isn't that obvious? If one of them is made without the other, so then it's not valid for it. So why I tell us if one of them sustains it, it's not valid for it? That's pasha. I mean, what are you telling us? It's obvious. So it's my law. The statement was not made on this on this scenario of the case of where one of them was Mekayim, Elohador. It said like this: Hey, brother, speak about Lohafrat Shemes. What happens if the father nullified his portion? The son has not yet nullified his portion. He wasn't Mekayim, but he hasn't yet. He wasn't Mekayim his nether, but he died. Okay? The father was making. We have a Daramurasa. She's betrothed. So now her father and her husband have to nullify together. So the father nullified. The kid dropped dead. The husband dropped dead. Right? What's the status in this case? What would you pass? Alright, but the husband's not around anymore. Okay. Okay, so that's what it says. This is what it says not that way. The father can be made for the chelik of the bow. He gets it. Right? Now, the chiddush of the Tanakama here is that he's got to do it. Even though the husband is no longer there, the father's got to be made for again. He inherits the portion of the bow. And this is a critical thing. It's only a one-way street. A father inherits the rights the husband had to be made for his wife's Nedarim. It's not vice versa. A husband does not inherit the rights a father had. If the father dies, the husband can't take over. But the father can. But he has to be made for the son, for the son-in-law.
Now, the girl is over 12 and a half or under 12?
No, under 12 and a half. Under 12 and a half.
That's why, because he can still marry you off. She's still...
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. You're right. The reason why he'd still retain his character is because he can marry off again. Right? I didn't think of even of that reason, but that's probably, I'm sure that's the reason. That's right. Very good. Okay. You don't need Afara as long as the husband was not Mekayim the Neder. Right? As long as the husband was not Mekayim, he just dropped dead. You don't need Afara. Now, this is a very fascinating machlokes between the Bavli and Yerushalmi. As a matter of fact, the Shari Torah Sincere wants to pick the Yerushalmi to go like the Bavli, but it's unlikely. The Bavli has that Beis Hillel argue with Yerushalmi and say, even a Chachamim Eino Yachol Lohafer, like you said before originally. That Beis Hillel argues with Yerushalmi and says, no, in this scenario, Hafara is not the husband, the father can't be maker because he lost his rights. When he was maker, he in essence did everything he could. Had he not been maker yet, before the son-in-law dropped dead, maybe then he could inherit the whole kit and caboodle and then be maker. But now he was maker before the son-in-law. Then the son-in-law died. He can't get the rights again to be maker because he relinquished his relationship to this mother. That's how the Bavli learns. The Yerushalmi says the exact opposite. The Yerushalmi says, no, since he was maker before the kid dropped dead, the son-in-law dropped dead, he doesn't have to be maker again. As long as the son-in-law was not Mekayim, he doesn't have to be maker. So it's a polar machlokus in what Beis Hillel Shita is between the Bavli and Yerushalmi. When the Bavli, he can't be maker anymore, he lost it, because he was maker before the son-in-law died. According to Yerushalmi, no, he doesn't have to be maker, because the son-in-law died. What does he have to be maker anymore? They both, regardless of the Beis Shammai says that the father has to be maker again. Okay? The second time. Says the Gemara, going further with Yerushalmi Shita, Avalim Haken, if even Beis Hillel, according to the Yerushalmi, if the son sustained the nether before he died, he was gasping his last breath, and he said, "You stick with that nether which you have," right? So then that's no the tough one, right? Avalim Haken any yochel offer. Okay, you say a father can nullify the husband's chilek, right? Either he does it explicitly or implicitly. Bikesh lahakin. What if he's making the neder? What if he's making neder? He's want to be after the husband dies, and he wants to be making the part of the husband which remains. Does he have that right or not? Now, this is a very strange question, because he already was made for his part of the neder, right? So now, does he have the right to remake him the neder, the rest of the neder, or not? I guess what it means, I don't guess, the Korban Eidah says, and the Hafkamina is, if he doesn't have the right to remake him, so the neder is in suspension, right? And she can't, if she transgresses the neder, she won't get flogged. It's like to suspend the neder, because he was made for his half. The half of the husband there's no vote on, so therefore it's in suspension. It's not suspension, it's in doubt. If, however, he can make him the neder, in other words, he has the right at least to sustain the husband's part, so then, even though he was made for his own part, he sustains the husband's part, that's enough for her to get flogged, even when she transgresses the neder. Because that makes the neder valid. And since it gives a validity, so therefore, she'll get flogged when she transgresses it.
Why would it be?
Lahachis, he's a jerk. There's no reason for him to do that. This is just a theoretical question, right? No, probably nobody's ever done it. It's just a theoretical construct. Okay? And so, now, Omar Mukam Loch, what if he said Mukam Loch? Stam Mukam Loch. Or Stam Mufer Loch, Chelko Shabbat. If he said Mufer Loch, Mukam Loch, or Mufer Loch, without specifying, that refers to the portion of the husband. One second. We always got the ways. Now the more goes on. Okay, we said Mufar Loch and Mukam Loch. After the husband says, we assume it refers to the portion of the husband. Now, Shita Domil said, this is obvious. Lo Ifira Avis Chalko. If the husband did not notify his part, V'Avra Nidra, and then she transgressed her neder, Loka, she gets Malchus. Now, this is a fascinating Malchus in the Bible Yerushalmi. According to the Bible, according to Yerushalmi, the father's part is stronger. Even if the husband was made for his part, but the father was not, then Nara Marasa, she gets Malchus if she transgresses it. And the Yufeinaim explains that the Yerushalmi is Rishitaso, that if the father is made for and the husband dies, you don't need Hafara anymore. Why? Because the father's Hafara, the initial Hafara took care of everything, right? But he's superior. But the Babli argues on that, right? As we said before, the Bible says, when a Beisila, like your original Sparah, that if the father was made for and then the husband died, so then we're stuck. The neder doesn't work, right? So therefore, the neder can't be nullified, right? It can't be nullified. So then, if that's the case, so therefore, we have Machlokes Bavli Yerushalmi, which is a variation on that theme. According to the Bavli Yerushalmi, once the father's made for his chelik, so the neder is weakened. It's called Miklash Kolish. And therefore, even if she transgresses it, she won't get Malchus, even though the father is not made for his part. The Yerushalmi expression is only the other way. What if the husband was made for his part, but not the father? I'm sorry. No. If the husband made for his part and not the father, so she gets Malchus. The question is the other way around. What if the father was made for his chelik and not the husband? The husband's still alive. So then, do I say that damaged the neder so severely that she can't get Malchus? Or do I say the father just chopped off his portion, which might be the major portion, but there's still some part of the neder left upon which she can get Malchus? Okay? So the way the Bible expresses it is Miklash Kolish or Megas Gaius. Does he diminish the entire neder or chop off his part? Okay? So that's what Gemara says here. Again, according to Yerushalmi, it's only a one-way question, but not a two-way question. So it says Yerushalmi, hey for Abba, loy for Abba, Shita Amilsa, loy for Abba's Chelka, the husband, the father didn't know by his part, father on the Adrian, she transgresses the neder, like it. Even if the husband was made for his part, because his part is the minor role. Hey for Abba, loy for Abba. But what if the husband did, the father did made for, the husband did it. Mao shetilga that she get malchus. Or miachashim yomus habal. Or do we say that since if the Baal died, we saw kenes eitzalah? Since, like we said before, the Yerushalmi Shita is that the husband, the father is superior, and therefore the husband inherits. If the husband dies, so his dominion goes to the father. The Bible doesn't hold that way, right? We said the Bible holds no such thing. But the Yerushalmi holds that the domain of the husband flows to the father. So maybe, therefore, maybe there's no malchus. Maybe there's no malchus if there's no malchus if the husband. We're going to daven here. Maybe there's no malchus if the father's maker, as long as even if the Baal was not maker. So it says Manicha Commander Amar. It makes sense according to the Green Souls. Ein Misa Kehafora. It says Kehafora, but it should be Kehafora. It seems like it says later on. If Misa is not like Hafora, and then it goes from the son to the father, then it must be that the father is superior to the husband, and therefore when the father is made for his chelek, it diminishes the neder and there is no malchus. Okay? But if you say that, in essence, let me say it outside. You didn't daven ma'ariv tonight? You daven ma'ariv. Okay. So I'll take my time, even though I didn't talk. But let's sort of like this. Yesh Misa, the way it's explained, we have to understand, when the husband dies, we said, according to the Yerushalmi, the right flows to the father. Either he has to be made for again, like by Yerushalmi, or he doesn't even have to be made for again, like they say. Again, that's Yerushalmi shit, not the Bobby's. Bobby holds it doesn't flow. But so it says the Yerushalmi, let's see. If Misa is like Hafara, the death is like Hafara, so then I understand that it's not really Nisrokna. It's not really Nisrokna. Because part of the reason why the father can finish the process, or doesn't have to finish the process, is because the death of the husband was like Hafara. It's not really a true Nisrokna. It doesn't really flow. Part of the process was that the death is like Hafara. However, Branka Manamar Yesh, I said it backwards. If the old Misa is not like Hafara, then the primary, that means that when it flows to the father, and the father is made fair with the son-in-law's portion, that means that the father-in-law is primary. And that means that since he's primary, if he's made for the neder, even if the husband's not, the neder is damaged, she can't get malchus for it. But if you hold me, Baram Commandamar, Yesh Misa Kafara, but you say that the death is part and parcel of the Hafara. In other words, that when the husband dies, the neder dies a little bit with him. And therefore, that's part and parcel of the father's right to then complete the process. So then, Misa Kafara, if Misa's like Hafara, so then that means that it's not necessarily that the father's portion is superior. It could be that part and parcel of that thing that the father can be made for the son-in-law's part is because Misa's like Hafara. And therefore, it could be where there is a son-in-law still intact, and he was not made for his chelek, and he didn't die. Even if the father is made for his chelek, that still should get flogged on the son's chelek. So in essence, we're saying, if the son's chelek is wholly subservient to the father's, because it flows to him after death, and he then receives full responsibility. Then, when the father is made for his chelik, even if the son is still alive and hasn't been made for his, there's no malchus. But we say the son-in-law's chelik is not wholly subservient to the father's, and therefore it doesn't really flow completely, but those as a component of death is part of the diminishing of the neder. So therefore, in the other hand, when the father is made for his chelik, the son-in-law still has its own validity. Perhaps less than the father-in-law's, but sufficiently independent that she can get malchus on it. Okay? That's he says here. The Khan here became a chaino made for law. If the husband was not made for his portion, Vaval she transgressed her neder, the neder, like she gets malchus. Tanya, hey for Avischoko. Now, if the now we learned the exact opposite of Rabbi Nosson previously. Rabbi Nosson said before that the Chachamim say you don't have to be made for the chelik, that Basil doesn't have to be made for the chelik, which remains, it's mufer automatically. If the son-in-law dies, he receives different shita. Tanya learned the Bryce hey for Avischoko. Father's made for his chelik. Let's speak about his chelik. The son didn't get a chance to be made for Achames about until the Baal Achames until he died. Habal Achron made for the chelik shushan. She's got to marry somebody else, and the next husband's got to be made for the chelik of the first husband. It's a big chiddush. But you need a husband. It doesn't flow to the father. She's got to find another husband. We don't care who's the next husband. There's got to be another one who takes over the place. Rabbi Yossi says, Masiso McCain have a price like this. Actually, I think it might be one of the coming Mishnahs. It says, Bala Avia Ubala Achra Mefirin Midarim. So this is an amazing shita. It's not like we said before. Before we said either it flows and the husband does it, or the father does it, or if it flows, you don't need the father to do it, or according to the Bible, it can't flow at all. But here it says, no, it doesn't flow, but that's true. But if you find a proxy husband, another one to do it, the second husband can become the shutz of the father, and they'll do it together. Okay, we'll stop here for today. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah.